3 years ago, I went to Jerusalem, and I went to the Holocaust Museum. I was so taken by that. I don't think I've ever gotten over it. And the part that really spoke to me in a deep level was this idea of this section that was of all the millions of children that were killed, brutally killed. 2 million children. As I read later in a book, the lost generation, a generation of kids that have been killed, and all the things that would have been connected to them. You know, their families, the people that they would have married, the children that they would have had, was all gone. And the depth of that just drove me crazy. So I walked into the museum that lifted up these children, and there were millions and millions of stars everywhere you looked. And you could hear their names being read one after the other after the other. See, the reason I think it's so important that we do this is that I don't want us to forget. Because if we forget, it is possible for us to do things like this again. As a humankind. You know, one day after I'd been arrested here in Fort Lauderdale for feeding the homeless, I had a call from what would be considered the public radio of Germany. And they were asking us how that could happen and why that would happen and what kind of state do we live in. And when I got through answering all their questions, I asked them a very straightforward question. That was, do you teach about the Holocaust? And the writer said to me, yes, of course we do. All of our kids know about it. All of them have been asked or have been taken to the different death camps. Because we don't want to ever repeat what we did. We own it. We have repented. And we want to always remember it. So as we go through today, what I ask you to do is there are things that we've done in this country, in this place, that we need to own. That we really need to own. And so as we remember the 6 million Jews that were killed, and as we remember the 2 million children, do not forget to take a look at ourselves. There are things that we have done that we need to own. Or, dear God, we may do them again.
No part of all the bloody work is so shocking and terrible as that of the 2 million Jewish children whose blood was spilt like water throughout Europe, how they were separated by force from their mothers who tried to hide them, murdered and thrown out of trucks in the camps, torn to pieces before their mothers' eyes, their little heads smashed on the ground. These are the most terrible passages of the tale of slaughter. You will hear evidence of actions which the mind of man does not want to believe. You will hear about little ones thrown out of hospital windows when they failed to respond to orders to report for parade. We shall present to you the instructions issued by Ekman and his office about the transport of children. One of these said that the children were to be divided among the transports intended for Auschwitz. Children of 14 were considered independent for purposes of transport to the extermination camps. Nor can we say who suffered the more terrible fate, those who died or those who concealed themselves in every conceivable hiding place and crevice, who lived in perpetual terror of expulsion, who survived by grace of Christian neighbors who agreed to hide them. Children would come home from schools and centers organized by the community to find their parents' homes empty, for they had been sent by some action or operation to their deaths, and the apartment was already occupied by others. You will hear evidence of tender infants pressed by their mothers to their bodies in the gas chambers so that they were not immediately poisoned until the executioners came and threw them alive into the furnaces or the ready graves. Those unhappy children who lived for years in fear of the beating of a rifle butt on their door, who had been sent by their parents to the woods in an attempt to save them, who had been taught to choke their tears and sighs because a weeping child would be shot on the spot, who had been ordered to deny their origins and pretend to be Christians, who saw their fathers being lashed with whips before their eyes, in front of whom discussions would be carried on by the German executioners as to who should be killed first, the father or the son, who went to the open grave with "Hear, O Israel," on their lips. These children and youths who, despite all the desperate measures and concealments, would finally fall into the hands of their hunters. They are the soul of this indictment. Those Anne Franks and Justine Drangers and a million others, those unplumbed treasures of radiant youth and hope for life and achievement, they were the future of the Jewish people. He that destroyed them was seeking to destroy the Jewish people. This reading was from The Lost Generation, Children in the Holocaust.
So we separate this moment away from all other moments. To remember that 6 million of our brothers and sisters were killed. To remember their families. To remember their faith. To remember their children. To remember their cries. And to remember their last whispers. We pray silently for them. May we never forget them. May we never forget them. Shalom.